Welcome to our final tutorial in this first series of videos that aim to situate creativity inside the context of teaching and learning. To start, I'd like to offer a summary of teacher creativity, which we've worked to define in our earlier tutorials. Teacher creativity is our ability to identify challenges we can address, work despite the problems we can't address, and engage in the actions needed to bring about new and useful outcomes that positively impact our environment. Now, to understand how we can discuss the level of impact our outcomes have, I'd like to take you through a short presentation that starts with a picture my son made. Like other children his age, he's engaged in a creative process that led to the production of this new image that he values and also I value. So it meets the definition of creativity as we've defined in our first video. Now here is another image, which is of a painting my grandfather made. Like my son, he is also engaged in a creative process to produce this new outcome, only the value extended beyond him and his immediate family. He won regional awards. He was commissioned to make similar paintings for others, so the impact of his outcome was bigger than that of my son. Finally, we have another painting by one of my favourite artists, William Turner, who was an English painter whose work has sold for millions, and a painting that expresses a style for light and shade, which led to changes in his field and how other artists approach their work, so the impact of this outcome is significant. So how do we separate these three outcomes from the perspective of creativity? We typically would group them into big C and little c creativity, but this throws most creativity into the same group, and there is a difference between an outcome with an impact limited to its creator and an outcome that inspires change in others, even if it's not at the level of William Turner. In 2009, James Kaufman and Ron Beghetto introduced the 4C model of creativity, which proposed mini C as outcomes that are limited to the individual. Little c outcomes where the impact is felt or recognized by others in the immediate environment. And pro C creativity, which expands beyond the creator's environment and leads to long-lasting systematic change throughout a field or industry. And finally, there's big C creativity, which is the outcomes that have a significant impact in the world and endure beyond the life of the individual. Most importantly, this model is a progressive model for creativity. So from a teacher creativity perspective, we often start at mini C, which is our new ideas and new discoveries that perhaps we make when we find a new problem to solve or identify a new technology that we want to use. We then progress to little c creativity, which is when we begin to enact our ideas in our classroom environment so that they can have an impact in that space and often impact our students. And then there is pro C creativity, which is when our ideas begin to produce change in our department, building, or district. And I often associate these types of ideas that are ideas that have been validated and therefore are seen as solutions for other people to adopt and perhaps modify so they can fit their space as well. This framework for creativity is one I've adapted when working with teachers, and it demonstrates that we all are creative, but by engaging more deliberately in the process of creativity, we can maximize our chances for little c and pro C levels of creativity that can help bring systematic change, not just inside our classroom, but in our department, our school, or district. For more material on teacher creativity and working toward a culture of innovation at your school, visit wordwardclassroom.com.